clock strikes. Here, it's always Halloween. And I'm always your haunted host, Lucé Tomlin-Brenner. This is typically Small Frights Friday, but today I need all of my lanterns out in Halloween land to know that I am feeling incredibly sad. Deep in my bones, deep in my skeleton. It has been a very awful week in America. And it has me thinking a lot about history and the importance of history and why I study history, why I'm fascinated by it, why I think it's important, why I want people to like and enjoy history. And I'm having trouble being enthusiastic the way that I want to be authentically with your calls and your emails. And I didn't like the way it felt to phone it in. So I want to bring you my true unvarnished enthusiasm because you guys deserve it and because it's fun. But I can't do that this week. It's just not, it doesn't feel okay. So, and then I thought about not doing or saying anything, which also felt bad. And I just can't stop thinking about things. So I want to take a moment today to talk about the importance of history. We get the joy of celebrating Halloween and Day of the Dead today in modern times, despite hundreds of years of people trying to stamp them both out. As we know them today, these holidays were forged in the fires of racism, ethnocentrism, and colonialism. The indigenous people of Mexico and the British Isles endured violent attacks by those who sought to destroy their ancient traditions, those who wanted their own culture to dominate the world. And yet, here we are in the year 2021, celebrating these darkly fun and spiritual days, celebrating our ancestors, celebrating the dead, celebrating life. Aspects of these 1,000-year-old traditions have survived despite trying to be destroyed. They survived, and now we get to continue them. White Americans often can't fathom what it would be like to have a major holiday taken from us today. It sounds absurd. You can't destroy a holiday. It's on the calendar, for goodness sake. The calendar. We take many aspects of our traditions for granted. We expect them to always be there because historically it has been white people pillaging others' cultures and replacing them with our own. There remain few holidays, traditions, cultures around the world that are untouched by white supremacy. In my research, I've run across many from the international community who complain of American Halloween seeping into and overtaking their own celebrations of the dead, a sort of passive colonialism by way of capitalism. I know historically that traditions, cultural pride, communities can survive the horrors of violent oppression, and they can miraculously rise up against it and protect their gifts so that they can be passed down to future generations. I know this. I read about it. But that's a cold comfort because that intellectual knowledge doesn't take away the pain of individual loss. The knowledge that each life taken was unnecessary, and it represents a greater hatred that continues to persist in our world, and especially in America. In the past, I have been accused of trying to push an agenda, and that I don't just have fun, that I don't know how to let Halloween just be fun. And I have pushed back against those accusations. I have asserted that learning is fun. Growing is fun. Understanding where we come from is fun. But it's more than that, really. It's more than fun. Knowing who we are, where we come from, what we've done, and what we've suffered is at the core of everything. That's life, baby. Every action has led to another action, and Halloween is not in a vacuum. That's the point of this podcast. That's why I'm here, is that Halloween has a tangled and fascinating history that helps us understand our current existence. That when feminists are called witches by evangelicals today, that is directly linked to the choices men made while they were translating the King James Bible in the 16th and 17th centuries. That when we buy and wear skull jewelry today, it's because 25 million people died in the Black Plague of the 14th century. That fortune tellers are an iconic symbol of Halloween today because Victorian Americans hated the Irish and they resented and were disgusted by the tricks that the Irish immigrants would play on Halloween. And Victorians made a huge effort to turn it into a romantic holiday instead, during which you would play fortune-telling games to figure out who you'd marry. American culture, everyone's individual and community culture, ethnic and ancestral culture, it all has deep and potent meanings. We're not just floating around going from thing to thing. This is who we are. This is why we are. So at long last, I will concede that I guess I am trying to push an agenda. I am pushing for the preservation of culture, the preservation of history, the preservation of lives lived, the idea that lives matter, that each individual life matters, and that each individual life contributes to the passing down of history and culture and traditions and holidays. And fun, the fun that you want to have, we get to have fun because the people who lived before us figured the fun out, and it got whittled and down and passed around and melded with the other cultures, and now we get to celebrate the fun of thousands of people over thousands of years because of this very important history, this very important culture. So yes, I am pushing the agenda that we pursue knowledge, that we dig deeper, and that we stay curious in the face of hopelessness. I'm pushing for individual and community empowerment through education, and I'm pushing for you to use your voice to speak out, not just online, but in person to your coworkers, classmates, students, family, friends, bandmates, your improv team. Speak out when someone says something bigoted or even just a little wonky. Regardless of how serious the person is who said it, tell them it's not okay, that you don't like that. They can't speak like that around you. It doesn't have to be a big deal. Just say, stop it. As a fellow lantern, Elisa wrote in a really eloquent Instagram post last week, she wrote, quote, "You don't have to invite dramatics, but it's imperative to make your dissent known." I thought that was really lovely. One of the reasons that Halloween rules is that it connects us to our communities. I keep hearing you say that over and over. You call in, you talk about the community aspect, and that's what you love about it. That's what you missed about it during the pandemic, was the community. Halloween is a communal event for an entire month, 2 months really nowadays, and it's best enjoyed in throngs of costumed candy eaters, groups of people screaming their way through haunted houses. There's nothing about Halloween that's fun on its own, and through small frights, we have been able to conjure our own incredible and supportive community. We are able to feel community during the most isolating year that many of us have experienced. I hear so much time and time again that all of you lanterns, you enjoy this space, you value this space, you love the community, you've gotten comfort from the community of these episodes, and I have too. I have felt less alone getting to interact with all of you. Every time I read your emails and hear your voices on the hotline, it fills me with an unparalleled glee. That's community. And that comfort that you're feeling, I want to encourage you to extend that comfort out to other people who need it right now. I am going to put some links in the show notes for how you can help if you need the inspiration. Pete Burns and I make this podcast together, and Pete Burns and I stand together against Asian American Pacific Islander hate. Together, we mourn those lost in the horrific hate crimes in Atlanta. We mourn those lost in the senseless shootings in Boulder, Colorado. We stand in solidarity with those suffering across the world whose communities have been needlessly impacted by bigotry and gun violence. Thank you for giving me this space and this time. I appreciate you listening. Thank you for taking care of each other. Please continue to do so. We'll be back next week with a traditional Small Frights episode.